Fire!
Have you ever wondered exactly how?
The blast came from the Death Star.
When it looked like the second Death Star was a long ways off from completion. Well, it's all thanks to this guy, Moff Tiann Jerjerrod, who came up with a simple but genius idea after being forced to innovate, following a tense moment with the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader. The reason the second Death Star was able to fire on the attacking rebel fleet over Endor was only possible because Jerjerrod told a lie.
Liar!
Okay, let's back up a little bit. While inspecting the progress of the second Death Star project above Endor, days before the rebels would launch an all-out assault on the battle station, Vader threatens the Moff with a visitation from the Emperor himself.
The Emperor's coming here?
That is correct, Commander, and he is most displeased with your apparent lack of progress.
Vader tells Jerjerrod that he's as good as dead. That is, unless he can make the impossible a reality and bring forward the date of completion for the largest battle station the galaxy had ever seen.
It is the Emperor's command.
But figuring that Vader could also just kill him where he stood and save his boss the trip, Jerjerrod decides to lie,
We shall double our efforts.
buying himself a stay of execution.
I hope so, Commander, for your sake. The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am.
Jerjerrod was originally an architect from the core world Tenel 4. He worked on the first Death Star project, but his construction was overseen by director Orson Krennic at the time.
Director Krennic.
The first Death Star was completed using prison labor, but it also relied heavily on the labor of the Geonosians, who were worked to death aboard the battle station. Fast forward now to the destruction of the first Death Star above Yavin and years of insurrection fueled by the rebels' first major victory. It was getting harder to fill, maintain, and defend labor camps from an emboldened rebel fleet, as well as from the prisoners held within.
But he asked the impossible. I need more men.
On top of mounting rebel strikes, the Empire couldn't utilize the Geonosians like they had the first time, because in order to maintain the utmost secrecy on the galaxy's largest military project to date, the Empire wiped out what remained of their species once their contract was up.
There is no Death Star.
So without access to the additional labor which had proven effective in the past, Jerjerrod would need a miracle if he was going to keep his word and speed up construction on the second Death Star in time for the Emperor's visit.
I tell you, this station will be operational as planned.
The Emperor does not share your optimistic appraisal of the situation.
Jerjerrod returned to his quarters and immediately got to work, devising a plan to have the battle station ready for a rebel attack, just like the one that destroyed the first Death Star more than 4 years ago. He was one of the few Imperials who still like to work with paper instead of holograms. We call it flimsyplast in the galaxy far, far away. The Moff had printouts of the entire battle station laid out across his quarters. While poring over the detailed schematics, he had an idea. The Emperor's ultimate goal was to crush the rebellion with this new battle station. The Empire would also need bait to lure the rebel fleet out of hiding. What better bait than the news of another planet killer floating unfinished above the forest moon of Endor? Such an incredible target just sitting out in the open would be too much for the rebellion to resist.
Although the weapon systems on this Death Star are not yet operational, the Death Star does have a strong defense mechanism.
They would throw everything they had at this incredible opportunity to strike at the heart of the Empire. We've seen throughout the saga, including Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Andor, and Rogue One, that construction of the Death Star begins with the station frame, surrounding shell, and ends with the focusing dish for the immense Kyber-powered laser. But by flipping what remained of the construction timeline and focusing on finishing the components of the Death Star's laser, Jerjerrod would provide the Emperor with the rebels' bait and their deadly trap in one.
It's a trap!
With this simple but genius move, Jerjerrod was able to keep his station and his word to Lord Vader, that he would find a way to make this battle station operational by the time the Emperor arrived.
Commence firing.
Moff Jerjerrod is easy to miss. He's only found in the Return of the Jedi and briefly in the special edition of The Empire Strikes Back by mistake. He was in only a few scenes across the saga to date, but he actually had a significant storyline which was cut from the final version of Return of the Jedi. Thanks to the Blu-ray release of the Star Wars saga back in 2011, these deleted scenes depict a Jerjerrod at the helm of the Death Star and with serious reservations over using its firepower on the rebel fleet, and more specifically, his fellow Imperials on the moon's surface.
But we have several battalions stationed on the moon.
All that was cut, however, so we're left wondering what makes Jerjerrod tick in canon. Well, it turns out he's such an Imperial fanatic because he saw himself and Darth Vader as somewhat alike. Jerjerrod saw himself and Darth Vader as two instruments of the Emperor's will, although he wasn't so deluded to think that the comparison would exactly flatter Lord Vader. While other high-ranking Imperials would gossip about Vader at formal gatherings, calling him a burned husk no longer alive and purely animated by the Force, Jerjerrod would abstain from such gossip. He also took offense on behalf of his Dark Lord to those Imperials who would mock Vader for needing a Bacta tank aboard his Star Destroyer, like the one found in his castle on Mustafar. So that's how one commander's white lie almost wound up causing the rebellion everything, and why Jerjerrod chose to dedicate his genius to the forces of evil and serving an emperor who was most displeased with his apparent lack of progress. Sub to Sublight if you haven't already, like this video if you enjoyed diving deeper into what makes this Imperial commander tick, and leave a comment with your best piece of Imperial gossip you heard about Darth Vader below. All of it helps us reach more Star Wars fans who like coming out of hyperspace to explore the finer details of that galaxy far, far away. For more revelations about the hidden stories that happened during Return of the Jedi, take a look at the playlist on the end screen now. Thank you so much for watching, and remember that the Force will be with you, always.